dark. Should I try and get some more light in here? There we go. Is that a bit better? Maybe?
Yes, that's lovely.
Okay, cool. I opened the curtain.
I'm underneath my light, so I haven't got another light, but it's good. Anyway, hello. We've got someone there. Hello, someone in the audience. I'm here with the amazing Jazmine Sussex. Hello, Jazmine. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you very much for having me on for a bit of a debrief and a drink. I know you're not drinking, but I will.
I got the water. We got to hydrate here because it is so hot. And I do apologize for my voice. I've had 6 wonderful days with the amazing Rex Landy over here in my home, just chilling and turfing out, which they get to spend time with international turfs. As it's such a treat to have Rex here. It's a treat to have you here. I've been able to speak to you in the past on Turf Talk Down Under, and also meet you in person in Melbourne. In Melbourne at Kelly J. Keen's Let Women Speak tour.
Yeah, I think that's where we first met, wasn't it? In real life. Was that on March the 18th?
Yes.
Yeah, that infamous day.
It was a great day. It was a frightening day. Just the whole thing was just nuts. And I often tell this story that a lot of people don't know is that my husband was in the pub across the road and the police didn't let them out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wow. They wouldn't let them out.
Because they were worried about their safety or the women's safety, or whose safety were they worried about?
They didn't want the men to protect their wives. They literally said, "You guys have been drinking. You guys are going to stay here until the women are finished."
Oh my God, that is scandalous.
It's crazy, isn't it? The little details that they go together, like the footage. For Mara's case goes together, and that's one thing that because they've seen the horses getting punched. A lot of the husbands were in that pub directly across the road.
Wow. And they knew they were the husbands, didn't they? That's why.
The police just said, "Nope, sorry, you will not be joining the crowds."
Wow. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the film, I was going to call it like TERFs, but no, suffragettes, like 2 waves back. I think it's called The Suffragettes, isn't it? And it's got this horrible scene in it where the police kind of are trying to decide what to do with some of the suffragettes that they've arrested. And they have a bit of a chat and they say, "Oh, we'll just take them home, like escort them home to their husbands, and their husbands will deal with it." And they mean their husbands are gonna bash them, discipline them. Wow. And it's kind of different, but also kind of not. The police wouldn't let your husband protect you, keep you safe.
Yeah. And I called my husband and I said, "Hey, this is Kelly J's packing up now. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that." And I said, "Do you want to start making your way to me?" And I had stood behind one of the big bollards, the brick things, the lead thing. And I had like a Superman moment where I could easily swap what I was wearing and walk off in a different direction. I had planned for that. And
Superman. I get it.
Yeah. The police was going, "What the?" And I'm like, "Is this necessary? Should I have to do this? To head off." Hey Rex, how are you? Got Rex in the chat.
Hey Rex. Awesome. I'm so sorry I didn't get to hang out with you guys. Hopefully soon we'll find another way.
So Jazmine, I'm gonna just have a little chat about some of your history, because we were having a bit of a chat the other day, and where I realized what was happening in breastfeeding in Australia was when the the Daily Mail had done an article on a local bloke here, and I was like, oh my God. And there was a wonderful turf in New York, and she was absolutely all over the details of this, and I'm like, this can't be true, this can't be right, this can't be true. And
who was that in New York? Just
Karen Davis.
Oh, Karen Davis. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Hello. Yes. What
She's
would
amazing.
we do? Yeah, without. You're kidding, right? I just love it, you know, especially back then, because it was pretty grim. The whole, especially in Australia, it was pretty grim. And she'd just make you laugh, you know, like you've got to laugh so you don't cry. And her songs and stuff, because she covered the Daily Mail story about your local Queensland bloke, didn't she? Like right from the beginning.
Absolutely, she was all over it. The details, you know. Look, she had her nickname for him. We all have our nickname for him, you know. But no, she was absolutely on it, you know. And I believe that was part of the reason why her channel was taken down. But it was just, there was. I'm not quite sure if it was the same person, but was fisticuffs or something like that, and they had put up the concoction.
Oh, yeah. With a little baby bottle and all the things that a man, like a typical man, would take, both to grow the breasts and then to give himself prolactinemia, like, yeah. And then also because most of them, they have to take suppressants for their testosterone. Like if they haven't had their testicles cut off, then they've still got dangerous levels of testosterone in their system. So they have to take other drugs to suppress the testosterone. And then it's not a healthy population, let's be honest. So a lot of them are on like heavy psychotropic drugs. You know, the one in Canada that came to public attention, I think it was just last year in 2024, he's got HIV. Like, he's a grandfather and he hadn't yet given any baby any galactorrhea, but he's on, you know, the, what's it called, PrEP, the stuff that you can take to suppress your virus load. And so, yeah, he's trying to say that, you know, that's no obstacle. And I think his partner was pregnant. The Daily Mail wrote about this as well. Yeah, they've done a series now, starting with the Queensland bloke and then a couple of other blokes around the world. Yeah, it's just the mind boggles, doesn't it? But it was good, that one. Yeah.
I mean, look, obviously, you breastfed your beautiful babies. I breastfed mine, and we're so aware and hypervigilantly aware of what we're intaking in our bodies when we're feeding our babies, and you know, the problems like with fetal alcohol syndrome. You know, we're aware of that, and we go to our classes. And I had my breastfeeding support in Queensland Hospital here when I had my son was just amazing, you know.
Oh, like, that's so good.
I got big girls. I got big girls. So you know, to be able to work, you know, like a football, you know, the football was the best option for me because the weight of the baby belly is. You don't think about any of that type of thing either until you're there experiencing the difference in women's shapes and the way that, you know, if friend of mine had twins, so she had to do the double football, you know, like.
Oh, bless her. How did she go with feeding twins?
Good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, no, this is a thing. We all, as women, share this. And I really, it's this kind of, what's the word, colonization or fetishization of women and mothers that it's what gets us all. And it's what gets good men as well. It's just like, it's a hard no. I mean, like these men seem to have different motivations. When you listen to them talk, some of them, they're all like, I think Andrew Amos he's from Queensland as well, isn't he? The psychiatrist. And he put it really well that, any parenting practice which prioritizes the needs of the adult or the desires of the adult over the needs of the baby is by definition pathological. Like, it really doesn't matter what motivates them, it's still wrong. And even if they're honest about what motivates them, like, I know some people don't like him, and I'm not defending him, but like Professor Michael Bailey, he said that men that are doing this are not honest with themselves, that they're autogynephiles, and that's a problem when a baby's involved, like they don't have some magical gendered soul. They have autogynephilia. So, I mean, yeah, the mind boggles really, just the lack of respect for
the
mothers.
baby, for this new beautiful, like take, the wants and needs away from, what are the needs of this baby, not your wants, like,
yeah,
I want to do this. Well, you don't have to do this. You don't have to supplement your wife because we have formula. There's plenty to supplement.
Yeah.
And so what I want to ask you is, now when I was feeding my son, and I had plenty, I actually donated some of my extra to the hospital.
Yeah, bless.
Yeah. I was blown away because it wasn't milk supply was not an issue at all for me, and they give it to babies that are coming off drugs.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I never would have thought that something that I produce could help somebody else, but it did. And now what I blew my mind with it was, I was always talked and told about nipple confusion, understanding that you have your breast milk and that you have formula, and that confusion between the two, and the baby can smell mum. It's always going to prioritize mum and breast milk from mum first, always.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, when I was a baby breastfeeding counselor, like in 2004, even when I was training, they taught us that, and there were these just adorably sweet and heartbreaking studies that they did where they put like a cotton wool bud of the mother's breast milk on one side of the baby in the humidity crib, and a cotton wool bud of formula, or I think they did mother's own formula and mother's own donated other, and the baby would go like that. Like, we're mammals. Our babies and the mothers, we're mammals, and we've got this amazing, olfactory system. We can smell our mothers, and we feel safe when we put, I'm going to make me cry now, when we put on our mother's chest, when we're first born. That's a natural habitat for the baby to be in, and like, I was trained that the capillaries in your like cleavage area can dilate in response to the baby being there, so that if the baby's a bit cold, then you've got a little baby warming pad built in, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, like Mother Nature's amazing, and we just need to respect it and stop messing with it, you know. I know I'm preaching to the converted, but it
My
just feels
friend
good to say it
struggled.
out
She
loud. Yeah,
struggled a
sorry.
lot, and I said, the only time you're going to have a direct line from your heart to your baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only time, and it's worth persevering if you can. And I understand not everybody can, but if you can, you know, it's definitely worth. It's at that moment you're never going to get back. And my boy's a man now, and I look at him and I think, holy hell, his head is the same size as what he used to be. He's huge.
Yeah, his whole body was the size of his head when
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
born.
And he used to find the milk ducks. Like he would find the ducks
Yeah.
and massage the ducks, you know, to make
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
and he would like empty it, like
Yeah,
you know
babies
that.
they know how to kind of get it flowing, and they even
Yeah,
from birth, you know, like they come out and they're kind of rubbing and like nuzzling and, you know, attaching, and it's just, I mean, it's so good to talk about, you know, normal, healthy mother baby relationships. And it's just like horrible that now, you know, in my mind at least, there's always this kind of knowledge that there's this really dark side, you know. And I'm sure there's not many men, but, you know, there was too many, you know, like,
one's too many.
well, one is too many, you know.
One,
And you know, this one that is alleging that I vilified him by saying that it's a terrible idea for men to do this, and was a terrible idea, and he was very badly advised to do it himself. His endocrinologist, and the Daily Mail wrote about her, and I mean, she boasted about it at the OzPath conference in Darwin in 2022. So I don't feel an obligation to not say her name, because she was on Twitter talking about helping men to do this. But yeah, she when she spoke at the OzPath conference, she spoke about, I think, 5, or it might have been 6 patients that she'd helped to do this, and that was in Brisbane, you know.
so that's one city in
Yeah,
one state.
yeah.
So
And
that's to put that in perspective, you know, one
yeah,
city, one state in this country.
yeah,
And you know, all these things, what you take goes direct into the bloodline that feeds the baby. That's how that works. You know, that's exactly how this works. So, if they're having to take medication, you know, like medication because you've had, say, a lung transplant, for example, and you're taking that, excuse me, anti-rejection drugs,
yeah,
that's a concern too. You know, I mean,
yeah,
that's all coming through the milk. You know.
yeah, yeah. And I'm particularly angry actually with this endocrinologist woman, because she did her, like, mustn't have been her master's. She did a kind of significant, hello doggy,
Sorry, there's
research.
someone at the door.
Oh, okay. That's
Getting a
cool.
barking.
She did a significant research project as part of her studies, going from being a doctor to an endocrinologist, on breastfeeding, or, you know, lactation, as they like to call it, kind of take the mother out of it. Lactation with diabetes.
Yep.
You know, like, which is really interesting and important work. And you know, how those hormones interplay and potentially sometimes interfere with breastfeeding is, you know, understudied. But it just makes me so angry that she would then go on, you know, to, like, when she was defending herself to the Daily Mail, she said, well, we've known since 1981 that cis men can make breast milk, and although that was in the presence of what did she say? Oh, that was in the situation of pituitary gland disease. We do know that cis men can make breast milk, and it's just like, right, love. So, are they women and mothers, and that's why you're helping them, or are you admitting that, you know, diseased men, including cis men, can also secrete some unstudied substance? Is that why, like, you've got to take your pick. Why is it okay that you're doing this, you know? And the other thing about this endocrinologist that I find just despicable is that she tried to kind of say that it was okay because, you know, it was supplementary to which is the complainant's line as well. And she also tried to say that because of the health condition that his wife had, that, you know, it was for the best. And I'm just like, okay, number one, she is not your patient. Why are you disclosing her private health information? Which
Absolutely.
is that was the first thing that really upset me about the complainant as well, that he was all over the Australian Breastfeeding Association page talking about how his wife couldn't breastfeed, and that, you know, if it wasn't for him, then their child could have been much sicker. You know, like, it was just like breathtaking in its cruelty and egocentric, you know, like, you know, like, your partner should be the person who you can most trust to love and protect the mother and the baby, you know. Like, when I was pregnant with my second, I went to a breastfeeding conference, you know, as I did every year, and Steve Biddulph spoke. Do you know him? He's the Raising Boys, Raising Girls, Raising Happy Children, like, Tasmanian family therapist, psychologist, lovely bloke. And he talked about how in early infancy, it's the mother's job to hold the baby, and it's the father's job to hold the family, you know, like, to protect and hold the family. And you're just like, that's right, you know, and that's not like cis heteronormative. That's not pathological. That's healthy. That's what the father is there to do, you know. Like,
yes. I mean, I love tarot. Like, I love tarot, and I always think of the lover's card. Yeah, the lover's card. And if you look at it, I haven't got a deck close to me. Normally do that, but on the lover's card, you'll know that the man looks at the woman, and the woman is directly connected to the angel.
No. Yeah.
So they look, you know, and then he looks to her, she, and then I think there's a Hopi Indian sort of story that's much the same, you know. We anchor our men and their souls, you know. We are the gateway to life and the gateway to death in a lot of ways, you know. And I do love that with the little details of the tarot, where the lady's looking up and the man's looking to her, and that's exactly what that is, you know. We hold. I mean, I didn't make the rules, but the universe thought woman was the best place to put our young, the most protective, safest place in the whole universe to put baby humans is inside woman.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, we didn't make those rules.
No, we didn't. But we will defend them.
Absolutely. So how long have you been working with women in breastfeeding? And did you start off in hospitals and work your way up?
No. So I my mum was a member of Nursing Mothers. That's what it was called then. And like most women, or a lot of women, it might be difficult with the first baby, but then the second baby breastfeeding works out. And that was the same with my mum. So my big sister, she was only breastfed, I think, till 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was breastfed. I weaned myself when I was 3. So so all my children got to wean themselves as well. Although the middle one, a little bit, I did kind of encourage, because I was pregnant with my 3rd, and it was really uncomfortable. I feel a bit bad, but so you were asking me, when did I get involved? So my mum joined me up to the Australian Breastfeeding Association when I was pregnant, and you had to be a member and have breastfed your baby for 6 months before you were allowed to start training to be a breastfeeding counsellor. So I did that. Like, I literally was like, okay, 6 months, here's my form to my group leader. And I'm still friends with her, which is lovely. There was quite a lot of division after everything that happened, but I've still got friendships with the foundational women, which is really good. But yeah, so I started training. It took 18 months, and so 2006, I was. They used to send you these lovely letters, and that was your like certificate to counsel. And so then I was a breastfeeding counsellor from like January 2007 or December 2006 until July 2021, which is when they took they like to say they resigned me, but they sent me a "don't come Tuesday" kind of see you later dismissal letter, alleging all sorts of nasty things. And so it was nearly 15 years. But
that's a career. That's a career that was taken from you, like, and not only from you, but from all the women who could have benefited from your counseling and your particular way of approaching it, because not everybody approaches it the same. Like, I know with one of the older ladies, we didn't click. I'm a little feisty, but one of the other ladies worked really well with me, because my son was jaundice and we were in for hospital for that 8 days. And, so she really persisted with me and gave that extra care to make sure that I was able and confident with him when I left, because we tried everything. We tried the nipple shields, we tried everything. And at the end, the best advice I was given was to express, get it out, because he wasn't able to latch.
Okay. How did he latch in the end? Like, why wasn't he latching? And then
because I just had so much milk build up in my chest, and my nipple was so round, he couldn't get his little mouth over it. And once I sort of expressed that out, and I had all these bottles, and this lady said to me, "Oh, I get 100 mils," and I looked down, and I had 3 little 100 ml bottles out of one of my girls. I would have been a wet nurse in a former life.
Oh, how beautiful is this? One of my lawyers, he's Italian, and his must be his great grandmother, or maybe just his grandmother. Anyway, she was a wet nurse, like in the 18. He did tell me when it was like the 18. I feel like it was like the late 1870s. And I just love it, and it's like, when would you normally ask your lawyer about their breastfeeding history?
Yes, it's fantastic. My grandfather was raised by a wet nurse. He was born in Sri Lanka. So English sort of had around the block, all the homesteads, and there was
Yeah.
a Sri Lankan family that
Oh,
would look after and serve. So my grandfather is Roman Catholic, but
yeah.
also believes in Hindu and Buddha, and yeah,
Wow.
amazing story of, and because they were his mum, they were playing tennis. They weren't
Yeah.
feeding the babies, they were playing tennis. And so like that connection to
Yeah.
your wet nurse as
Mm.
family, they're part of your whole family. The
Yeah.
woman who, and he said he was very, very close to Nanny. He called her Nanny. He was very close to Nanny, and all the kids were very close to Nanny because she
So
was,
was oh, sorry. So
yeah.
this man, was this your grandfather, did you say?
Yeah,
In
my
Sri
pop, my
Lanka? Yeah,
grandfather.
your grandfather. And so was your family, if you don't mind me asking, kind of quite well off in Sri Lanka?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so my grandfather's grandfather
Yeah.
sold his tea plantation to Mr. Lipton. So I'm a
Oh,
Lipton heiress that has
oh,
no
wow.
tea plantation.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's so, I
Um,
mean, I love history. I really
yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's great. And I think it's so important to know your history. And like one of the things I used to love about being a breastfeeding counselor was I used to do the breastfeeding education classes. So that's where when women are pregnant, they come with their partners or support person, often husband. And you help them. It's like you inoculate them before problems arise, in terms of common difficulties like engorgement, with like or large breast positioning and attachment, all sorts of things. But in the breastfeeding education classes, we always used to do a bit of a lactation history, like as a I make it sound really boring, but as a like an icebreaker, so you'd go around, and really important for the dads or the support people to know what their breastfeeding history is. So, and lots of like 33-year-old men, and sometimes the lesbian partners as well, if you'd say, you'd have to say, were you breastfed? How long for? And, have you talked to your mum about it or something like that? And lots of them wouldn't know. And it'd be like, right, well, breastfeeding's a team sport. So you need to go talk to your mum. If you're not friendly, then you're going to have to maybe talk to your brothers and sisters or whatever, because then when things come up, with the new baby and breastfeeding, you know who you're talking to, like, and if your mum or your mother-in-law had a traumatic short breastfeeding experience, like you got to be sensitive if it's going well for you, and
Mm,
B, like maybe don't ask them for their opinion because like what would they know? Like I don't mean that in a mean way, but
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. My husband's mother had him and his family older in her 30s,
oh
and
yeah,
it wasn't something that um she was really encouraged by the sounds of it. It
yeah,
was sort of like, you're an older woman, you've had these babies in,
yeah,
mid 30s and later.
mm,
Just put them on formula, sort of deal. That's an
yeah,
easy sort of thing that they were encouraged. Like
yeah,
older mothers now are encouraged to feed, but they weren't so much encouraged to feed before.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like my my mum's mum, no, sorry, my dad's, so my great grandma, my dad's grandma, she came over from Scotland when she was a baby, on a boat, and they had a goat on the boat to help with feeding the baby
Nanny goat.
because yeah, a nanny goat, yeah, because you know, same thing. Like they were, I can't remember what they did. He was a Presbyterian minister, and they were missionaries. Like they came to Australia, and then they went to Japan, and then they came back to Australia and stayed here. And you know, I guess they were reasonably well off, and so it wasn't really, you wouldn't breastfeed for very long. That wasn't kind of the thing to do, you know. So yeah, like you got to know your family history.
It's absolutely so important. Because then you sort of know. See, I wasn't breastfed. My mum didn't breastfeed me,
Right.
and I was aware of that, and it was something that was important to me. To give that to my children, knowing that I you know, my mum had me very young. She was 18 when she had me, so you know, she didn't have that support because she was so young. I mean, this is the catch: you don't get that support when you're a single mum and you're that young. You don't get the support when you're an older mum in those realms too, you know. And we're starting to work with all women because it is different. It is different how comfortable you are with your body as a young person to be able to feed, and how comfortable you are with your body as an older woman breastfeeding, you know. Like there's there is those sweet years where you don't give a shit. Like you don't give it, you know, like I answered the door, I would just go, be feeding, walking around. Oh, delivery, I'd answer the door. I didn't care, you know, like out of the shopping center, I lift my top up, put him out, you know. But there is that sweet spot because we are judged.
Yeah, we are judged. Absolutely. Like there's some calls that you never forget, like some women that you'll never forget. And I remember one time there was a woman who called Helpline, and I think she was like Christian Lebanese or something. Like she was, I'm pretty sure she was Christian, but she was like Orthodox and from a culture where taboos around, you know, like nudity and in family, you know, an extended family. She definitely was Christian because she was ringing to try and plan ahead. It was her second child, and she was hosting Christmas for a stupid number of people, including her in-laws. And she was trying to figure out how like, could she express? And it was going to be a really young baby, like under 6 weeks. You know, and it was just like, I mean, obviously I tried to help her come up with a plan that she felt she could implement, you know, but I did also feel a little bit obliged to kind of just check what was about her and what was about her in-laws, and was there any possibility for her husband to talk to them, you know, because I think I quoted Dr. Phil at her, like, because Dr. Phil used to say, you know, like, his family is his problem to manage and your family is your problem to manage, kind of thing, you know. But like the thing that was in her head was that she couldn't breastfeed the baby at the table, at the Christmas table. She had to go into a room to breastfeed the baby. But then how would she host Christmas for, you know, 12 or something stupid? I can't remember now, but it was a lot. If she had to keep going to feed the baby, and she was like, can I get the baby into more of a routine? You know, like she'd had a baby before. It was just like impossibly hard.
Too little, just too little.
Too little. Yeah.
And that's where mum-in-law needs to step up and say, what can I do to help this day run smoothly and fairly, you know, like, what can I do? How can, you know, I see you've got everything here. Can I help set the table or something like that? And I think, you know, we have to remind ourselves, like, I suppose, I have a daughter and I'm blessed to have a daughter. She's got a lovely man, but, you know, to balance that too with your daughter and your in-laws, the offer is there if you want it. Please ask, you know, but not be in there
Yeah. And that, like, I think this is a thing as well that really still breaks my heart about the ABA is that, like, it always used to have that philosophy, you know, like it's the only place you ever saw the word inclusion in the ABA was a breastfeeding inclusive society, you know, which
Yes.
means thinking about the pressure that we put on women, you know, thinking about how we sexualize women's bodies, and that makes it difficult for them to breastfeed down the street or breastfeed at the swimming pool or, you know, breastfeed. I mean, churches are pretty good. Like, come breastfeed your children. But, you know, in some religious contexts, you know, there might be more difficulties around that. But yeah, you know, and then it's like they just lost their minds, you know, like Mayor for Starters lawyer said just recently, Peter Daly, that, you know, that transgenderism leads to institutional insanity, you know. People just he was talking about the Sandy Peggy, you know, the nurse with the Dr. Upton, the bloke in the nurses changing rooms. Like, it's like the people's ability to critically think just Shnavi's film, The Beyond the Looking Glass. It's you so got to go and watch it, Kellyanne. It's about trans widows and their relationships with these men, and like amazing.
It's an amazing. That's Lime Studios, isn't it?
Yeah, Lime Soda Studios. Yeah. And I
Yes,
think it's called Beyond the Looking Glass because it's like Narcissus, you know, how he looks into the didn't he, like, the legend is he looked into the pond and was so enraptured by his reflection that he drowned. Sorry, it's like, yeah, narcissism. Oh dear.
Yes.
But yeah, it's amazing.
I sort of think as an allegory, it's like they become the siren, the mermaid, and drown themselves as the sailor, you know?
Wow, yeah.
So they're looking into the depths and they see this beauty that is them, and the siren, which is themselves, drags themselves under. And I think that's really, really interesting little metaphor there, because they use the mermaid a lot in their programming, that, you know, they're what they sort of put out there, mermaids and that type of thing. I also think it's very much Peter Pan syndrome, because none of them actually want to be an old woman.
No, that's true. Yeah. And how they reckon
None of them
that
want to
they're
be an
girls.
acting old woman.
Yeah, because they go through puberty. They reckon a second puberty, and then they're a girl. Because, like, it's just so wrong, you know. Just like, oh my goodness,
it ruins things like caterpillars and butterflies.
Oh yeah, and rainbows. Like, I insist
Rainbow
on.
like is in the sky.
Sorry, say that again.
The only rainbow I tolerate now is in the sky.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just, like, I had you know, that gorgeous toy set, like the Noah's Ark toy set with the rainbow and stuff for kids. And I'm just like, you can't have the rainbow. No. You know? I mean, it was like, especially as well, like, I don't know if you know, but like that in birth, before the rainbow got appropriated by you know, like the Pride rainbow, there was I mean, I'm not obviously anti-homosexual, but it's the progress Pride that is objectionable. But it used to be, it used to be a rainbow baby was a baby that you had after a loss, you know. And it's just like, it's just so wrong, you know, that now a rainbow baby makes people confused. At what are they talking about? A they be, like a non-binary baby, or like, what's that, you know?
Or is it I've heard a rainbow family can also be like a woman who's donated their eggs to a surrogate who the baby is now in this family over here. So, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like that's a
Yeah.
rainbow baby. I can't remember, there was an Aussie actress that was talking about how she had donated her eggs to this couple and she was
Mm,
part of this rainbow family. And I was just like, okay, but not everybody is actually entitled to have children, and it is
yeah.
okay not to have children.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
completely okay too.
Yeah. It's not a
Be
human
the
right.
best aunt you can ever be the
Yeah.
best uncle you can ever be, like family
Yeah.
is so important, and a good aunt and a good uncle, and a good grandma and a good grandpa is an absolute priceless thing. It's like
Yeah.
when you don't have that for your children and they miss out on that, not direct mum and dad, someone who'll play, but someone
Yeah.
who'll pull you into line. When you
Yeah.
miss out on that, you miss out on fundamental lessons of life,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the
Totally.
grandmother can totally spoil, but at the same time go, whoa, you don't talk to my mother or my son like that. You don't talk to your mother like that because
Yeah.
your mother is my daughter. So you don't talk to my daughter like that. And it's very,
Yeah.
very important element of
Mm.
the that's the village, and I think part of it, my grandmother used to love the show The Global Village
Oh,
on
yeah.
SBS, and it's like, wow, we've been really conditioned into believing that everybody on this planet should have a say in how we
Yeah.
raise our children.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, no, we've got to bring it back to having that really good friend, like you've had that really good friend forever and a day, either from high school or primary school, or in my case, my dancing life, and
Yeah.
they become the aunt. They're not blood related, but they
Yeah.
love your
Yeah.
children
The
as much as
auntie.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't really do that in my family. I don't know if we were a bit more uptight or something, but in Chris's, oh, well, probably shouldn't say my husband's name, but in my husband's family, they had aunties, who were very good friends of the family. And, I like it now. And as I got older, because like I grew up in Suffragette City, dead proud in Manchester, in England, and like, so I sort of missed out on all those years in primary school of being with family. So like when we came back here, I used to call my aunties and uncles like auntie their name kind of thing, or
Yes.
like my grandma who like my mum, like she did sociology at Monash Uni in the like 60s, late 60s. So my sister and I, we called my mum and my dad by their first names, like their Christian names, when we were tiny. And because, they were very progressive. Like mum didn't have a engagement ring, or I think she did get a wedding band, but, like she did take his name, but I didn't take my husband's name when I got married. Anyway, the point is that like when like over time you kind of change your perspective on how you raise children, like, and what it's all about. Oh yeah, so I remember I lost my train of thought. So my big sister was calling my mum by her first name, which I won't share, and then she went to nursery and she started calling my mum's mum mummy, and her first name, because she didn't have a mummy like all
Yes.
the other kids at the Montessori, primary kindergarten. And so then mum let her call her mum. And then obviously I came on along a few years later. And so I always called mum, or mummy, mummy and daddy. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I get where that kind of progressive identity politics kind of stuff there's positiveness in it, but it just sometimes gets a bit messy.
Yes. So
Goes
in
too far.
my case with my daughter, it was always Auntie Lisa. That's
Yeah.
his Auntie Lisa, always very, but I'm estranged from some of my family, and
Mm.
Auntie Lisa was the only auntie that my daughter had.
Yeah.
And she stepped up into that role, and I will always be grateful for that, because we're such a small family, that we're very tight and small family, and
Yeah.
having that little, the friend to step up that, and it was very organic too. Like, I don't
Yeah.
remember ever her asking to call her that, or
Yeah.
even Lisa saying, "Oh, you can." It was just a very organic thing that she had done herself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's nice. Well, like my
Yay.
sister, she wanted to have a mummy, and your daughter wanted to have an auntie,
Auntie,
like,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, we
This is
need it.
great. So you just recently had an event you had to go to on Monday,
Yep.
but it's also an event that you're not allowed to talk much about. So it's compulsory, but also don't talk about it,
Mm.
but don't think you can't not go. Like, so that would do my head in. Anytime someone says, "You run it, you got it," I would be like, "Whoa, my opposition defiance disorder does not like that." So
Yeah.
I would really struggle with that, Jasmine. And I give my heart to yourself, Sal, Maura, the way that you can stand fast and go through the motions, because we do know that it's the proceed, that going through this is the punishment.
Yeah, process is a punishment. That's right. Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's been drawn out, and it's been
Mm.
a long ride and a long haul.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, I guess what we're dealing with now is kind of the third serious effort that the complainant has made to kind of get me, So the first one was through the Australian Breastfeeding Association, and I actually didn't know quite how much damage he did me until I received the complaint that he sent to the Queensland Human Rights Commission, and the back, like, it's 58 pages, this complaint, full of spelling mistakes, does my head in. But the back, like 8 or 10 pages, is all his correspondence with the Australian Breastfeeding Association. When he complained to them about me, how he found out that I'd said anything about like men breastfeeding on the page. It's just like it's a long story, but super briefly, one of my fellow breastfeeding counsellors, who was a social media officer for that ABA, she screenshot my comment, deleted it because she found it objectionable, blocked me from the national Facebook page, lodged a complaint about my comment that she'd cut and deleted and blocked me for to the CEO and the national breastfeeding education manager. She's like the most senior person who would, if you had a problem about something that you didn't know quite what to do, you could talk to her. And this is the killer, at like 11 o'clock that night, she wrote to him, like identified me as a breastfeeding counsellor, told him that I was a breastfeeding counsellor, and gave him the complaint form, gave him the screenshot of my comment so he'd be angry, gave him the evidence, gave him the complaint form, the evidence, told him that she'd already lodged a complaint, but it would be really important for him as the affected party to lodge a complaint as well. And then he lodged that complaint like an hour later, you know, and this is all in the complaint, you know. So it's like, I mean, I don't know if like the penny drops for you. Obviously, I'm a bit obsessed with all these details, but what it says to me is that I would never have met this man if it were not for this fellow breastfeeding counsellor telling him that I was a breastfeeding counsellor, sending him the evidence, asking him to lodge a complaint, like the whole thing. So that was in May the 12th, 2021. What are we
And
now?
that's literally 12 months before the Daily Mail article.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally almost to the day. I haven't had a look at the Daily Mail. It's like within days of being 12 months. So it's almost like he got a bit of confidence up about that, maybe, and that maybe that triggered the interview. So I had a little interaction with him on Facebook.
Oh, did you? Tell me all about
it. During Self ID here in Queensland, we there was a Courier Mail article up on Facebook, and people were making comments, and I had seen the name, and I went, I know that name, and they were, oh yes, you know, and I'm like, with the Daily Mail, is this you? Is this you? So anytime he commented to somebody on the Courier
was
Mail,
this? Was it before or after the Daily Mail had been, like, do you remember when it was? Like a bit, it was in May 20, it was in 2022.
It was after the Daily Mail article. It was after that scene Karen's stuff, and so it was about after 2 years ago now. So because I was in between Kelly J. Keane coming here.
Oh yeah.
And Kelly J. Keane, like it was during that whole tour, because I when she was going to come back the second time, which was 6 months later, she went to Auckland, and she didn't go. She chose not to go. It was in between her coming here 6 months later, hopefully going to Auckland, which she didn't go, and I ended up going over there and staying with Rex. We did a little tour over there. It was in that 6 month. I don't have the date itself, but it was during that Self ID. And they were talking about it, and I just kept saying, is this you? Is this you? Is this you? Like, is this your article? Is this your interview? And he just kept saying things, and it got a little heated. But what had happened is and it wasn't just me too. There was another fabulous turf here in Brisbane who had seen what we were doing, like, and she was doing the same thing. Like, I could see her on there. Marie, her name was, and so you can see Marie posted the article, and then I went, okay, well, I'll post it over here. So between the two of us, we were getting just about every person that he had made a comment to, you know, going, is this you? And we both got kicked off Facebook for a month. And here's the best thing, like not the best thing, but my little head is like, whoa, like, so, because I'm a weirdo like that. Like, here's the best thing I say. I get back on after doing my month of Facebook, right? Wow. And I go back to the Courier Mail thing where this interaction is.
Yeah.
And my comment where I've posted the link, is this you, is gone. But he's deleted all his comments. All of his comments are gone.
That's what he does. This is like really. I looked it up the other day, and it's called something, and I've forgotten now. It's like ID washing or something like that. Like or like profile washing.
Yeah.
So he'll argue with someone, and then he doesn't like kind of the record that gives, you know. And now it's even got to the stage where I feel like he's trying to get me to interact with him, and I just don't. But so he doesn't like the record, so then he'll delete his profile. He'll deactivate his like Twitter profile, delete all the stuff, so that you can only see their things, and it kind of doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And then,
so the only bits that were left in this Courier Mail article was the things that I had said that I didn't attach the link to for the Daily Mail because Facebook took that off. That wasn't having it. So what it looked like then was the original comment. His stuff was gone. The link that I had sent was gone. And then all was left was, you will never be a woman. This is disgusting. And it looks like I was having a conversation with the original person. And if you weren't smart enough to see that there was bits missing, it just looked like I was having a conversation with this other person and being completely rude. It was completely out of context then, you know. It's a really nefarious way of conducting yourself on the internet.
Yeah. And so what notification did you get, and who? So because the reason I'm asking is that in that time, like in 2022 and a little bit of 2023, there was a big defamation case that I think was in Queensland, but it went quite high in the courts, and it changed the onus of responsibility for defamation, so that if you say, like, if you said something that was defamatory, not "is this you?" that's not defamatory. But if you said something that was defamatory, which I won't provide an example, then not just you could be liable for that defamatory comment, but the Courier Mail could be liable for allowing you to say it and not delete it, kind of thing.
Yes.
So I'm just curious.
So I will never know whether it was Facebook itself that deleted those links that I had put on,
Courier
or
Mail.
whether it was the Courier Mail had that, because either way, that's possible for them to do that, you know, just go through and delete that. So, you know,
but the thing that makes me think it would have been Facebook, sorry to interrupt you, is that, I mean, it might have been two stages, but if he complained to the Courier Mail or like reported your comment through the Courier Mail, someone would then have to report your whole identity to Facebook for them to take you down for a month.
Yeah. I went to hop in and it says Facebook you can't log into Facebook for 28 days, and I thought, well, that's a bit weird, because I hadn't been on for a couple of days, because you know, I'm a little sporadic. I have days off and, you know, other things in my life, and I pop in and out, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Wow.
But yeah, going in afterwards and finding this broken bits of conversation and links gone, and everything he had said was gone.
Yeah. Well, my advice to all women is, when he freaks out at you and you're arguing, screenshot everything because he will delete it as soon as he's achieved whatever his objective is. And I think part of his objective is to block everyone.
Yeah.
Because then he can continue this kind of conversation where no one criticizes him, you know. But I think the problem is that, like, he fundamentally doesn't appreciate that he's never going to reach the bottom of people saying, mate, that's really wrong. What are you doing? You know, like, I'll just tell you like one last story, and then it's probably, we've been talking for, you know, I don't want to kind of bang on, but like, I used to work for Parks Victoria, and we did a partnership. Like, I worked in like stakeholder management, comms sort of stuff. We did a partnership with the Shooting Something Association, and it was an environmental program, but because the deers aren't supposed to be there, but they were literally shooting Bambi in a national park. And like, it was quite a difficult job to do, like the public relations and stakeholder relations for it, you know, but we actually did all right, like with the media coverage and with the stakeholder relations, because people could appreciate that deer aren't supposed to be in a national park, and that it was causing problems for a range of equally cute animals and native animals in the ecosystem, kind of thing, you know? So it's like, yeah, killing Bambi is one thing, but men breastfeeding babies with, you know, it's just like, he's never going, he needs to stop trying to litigate his way into convincing people, and just accept that, like, this is an unwinnable, like, PR battle in the court of public opinion. Like, never going to happen, my friend. No, please stop.
No. And that's absolutely correct. Deers, unfortunately, aren't native to here. We love them. They're cute. They're beautiful. But there is, and one of my things is I'm really not a big fan of is my truth, your truth, because there are universal truths.
Yes.
You know, well, this is my experience and it's my truth. Well, the problem with my truth and your truth is we can be both completely wrong, or far from truth as possible.
Yeah.
Or one of us could be in line with truth and the other one not.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but so you can't describe a house by looking through one window. You have to get a 360-degree view of every window and the whole yard.
No, it's not.
And whatever comes out of the moved nipple, that's a side effect. Like, to me, a move is a tumor. You've given yourself a tumor, and that leaky stuff from your tumor is not breast milk.
Yeah.
To quote Rex Landy, I do love this one. There is no man on this planet that is equivalent to your mom.
Yeah, go Rex. I love it.
That's a Rex, you know. Yeah. There is no man equivalent to my mom. There's not one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me, Jazmine.
We've had a great chat, haven't we?
Loved it. So this is a big year for you in this.
Yeah.
You will have to come to Queensland eventually.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I mean, I don't know. I won't make a prediction, but I'd be surprised if it settles through this process that we're in at the moment. But if it does, then maybe I won't have to come to Queensland, but I'll come for other reasons. But if it doesn't, then I'll be, like we've spoken about, I'll be in Queensland for like a week. Yeah.
Well, if you come to Queensland, darling, make sure you hit me up. I will be there. I will stand side by side with you all the way. You are a legend. You are a wonderful, wicked woman. Your knowledge is fabulous. Thank you for being a warrior for truth in this movement here in Australia. Without yourself, Sal, and Carolee, and Maura, we would be having a really hard time getting this information out and getting people to understand the urgency of the situation that we're in. And I will forever be grateful for yourself for that. Thank you so much, Jazmine.
Thanks very much. Okay.
No, love.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I turn it off.
See ya.
See ya.